Hey everyone, welcome to the Sci-Fi Corridor episode. The scene that I have open right here is something we are going to recreate, and it's a little bit of an introduction to the hard surface modeling in Blender and the non-destructive workflows. But before I jump into that, I want to talk about the Blender 2.9 first a little bit. So the Blender 2.9 was released in the middle of the recording of this course, so I thought it would be great to make an upgrade and record the further episodes with the 2.9. There are no breaking changes or anything, just small quality of life improvements. So I will now jump to the empty Blender file, and you can see here we have the 2.9 version open. And now if I dismiss the splash screen, there are only several things that are important here. You can of course go to the blender.org and look up all the changes in the changelog. But right here, I think it's important to note that in the render settings, if you switch to the cycles, the denoising has an UI update. So if you expand here, you will see that there are two options now for render and viewport denoising, and it's all bundled here together. There's no need now to look for denoising on all those different places like before and going to compositing and stuff like that. So you can do all of the denoising right here in the render settings when you switch to the cycle render options. So you can enable render denoising with the optics libraries or open image denoise that I use most often in the compositor. So moving forward, I will be using this right here. And then you can use the viewport denoising as well. And apart from optics that was available up until now, where you can only viewport denoise if you have RTX card, right now you can use open image denoiser as well. So even with the CPU, you get the full viewport denoising capability, which is awesome. And the best thing really is that it's right here and accessible. So I think this is the most important thing for you to know. And there are maybe two more things I would like to mention when it comes to modeling capabilities of the Blender 2.9. If we go now into the edit mode for the cube, and I will subdivide this. Before, you could do extrude just by pressing E and extruding, and then if you want to extrude along normals, you will press Alt E. But you can see right here there's a new option to extrude manifold, and what that does is when you select these two faces, if you extrude them in a standard way with E, they just go inside and you get all this mess here. Let me go back. And now if we press Alt E and extrude manifold, you can see we can push this down and it will create some additional geometry for us, and it will create an n-gon here. So this is something you could see before maybe in SketchUp or software like this. Now Blender has this capability too, so that's really great. And one more feature that I'm really excited about is edge slide snapping. I use vertex snapping all the time if I want to match positions of some vertices, so let me switch this to vertex snapping. And right now this is possible to do for the sliding that wasn't available before. So if we make a loop cut here, and let's slide this out of the way. And now if you want to slide this vertex in the same position, you can just press G twice and snap it by holding Control like this. So this now works. And I know this looks like a minor change, but this can be very useful when you're modifying the mesh. So I just thought I will mention it, and that's for the 2.9 updates. But these were like the three quality improvements worth mentioning for me. And now we can switch back to the scene and inspect what we are going to be making. As I said before, we'll focus on hard surface modeling techniques and non-destructive workflow so that you are able to quickly prototype and tweak designs and scenes like this. And what I mean by hard surface modeling, if I switch to few images that I have here, these are basically all hard surface objects. And it means exactly the thing that it describes, that these are objects made from hard materials like the metal or wood or something. And these objects in a real world are never 100% sharp. Even those that look like it, you know, like the nails or these wheels here, if you zoom in, you can see these little nuances in the surface, and you can see like these edges that light bounces off. So that means there's always some kind of bevel or some profile to these surfaces. So the hard surface modeling is all about like getting the curvature of the hard surface models and creating these cutouts while giving some structure to the edges here. And even if you inspect something like wood, you can see that these edges are never absolutely sharp. So that's about the hard surface modeling. And I've chosen a sci-fi theme here because I'm really a huge fan of science fiction, and I think this kind of design is perfect for the hard surface and non-destructive modeling techniques. And if you want to know where you can get inspiration for designs like this, Pinterest is a great thing for gathering a quick inspiration or quick look at something you want to explore. And here I just searched for sci-fi hard surface. It will give you thousands of results featuring hard surface modeled sci-fi designs. So these are the designs that I get my inspiration from, and I translated this to my favorite isometric diorama format so we can have a little fun with it. And if you want to create something on your own sci-fi environment or design like this, you can go and take some real-world inspiration into consideration. So if you research like this side of things, the sci-fi themes and all that stuff, then you can go and look for some real-world examples. So if you, for example, need to model some spaceship corridor, you can go on and, for example, search for submarine interior on Pinterest. It will give you a lot of results from actual real-world submarines and stuff like that. You can see that there is a lot of technical stuff involved, a lot of gadgets, a lot of pipes and stuff like that. So if you're like me and you have no idea how the ship should be equipped, you can go on and look at some real-world examples, battleships, submarines and stuff like that, and then take the layout of those interiors and translate them into those sci-fi designs. So this is just a little tip on where you can go to search for inspiration if you want to come up with a scene like this on your own. Again, we will use a lot of hard surface modeling techniques here, and most of all, this is a demonstration of non-destructive workflow. So a lot of these things here are dynamic. If I, for example, select this rounded opening here, I can just move it and you will see the environment around will accommodate to the position of the door. So that's very useful for quick prototyping. And I want to quickly mention, this is a not design that's ready for use in a games or something like that. These techniques just help you to get to this kind of result as quickly as possible. And then if you're satisfied with it, you can go on and, retopologize the models, simplify them, and optimize everything for the particular use that you are going for. But this is out of the scope of this episode. Here, I just want to show you how can you model this as quickly as possible and how you can have the flexibility to move things around and change it so you can ideate while you're modeling something. So let's not waste any more time and let's jump right into our first hard surface model.